Welcome to our Devos this week, this holiday week. We just passed Thanksgiving. We are talking about considerations concerning conflict. And when we think about conflict, a lot of times what we think about is like this big, massive drama that's happening, some sort of explosion. But most of the conflict in our families happens over an eroded period of time. Like it's just little things that have happened, and there's conflict that has arisen as a result of a lot of underlying issues. It's not just one thing. It's not just because you forgot to bring whipped cream for the pumpkin pie. It's not that. It's more about the fact that there was something underpinning that conflict, and that conflict has now come to the center. If I could say there's a silver bullet, and there isn't, but there's one that comes pretty close that's going to help you eliminate 90% of bad behavior on your end. I can't control their end. We can't control what other people do. I'm only talking about us here because that's the only one that we're controlling. We're 100% responsible for 100% of our actions. I am the person who is 100% responsible for all of my actions. I'm the only one. So, with that said, when a conflict comes, when somebody is putting you in a situation where you feel like anger might be jumping into the driver's seat, or you might have a tendency to want to react unrighteously, keep your pride in check. Keep your pride in check. This is so difficult because you would think that in the middle of a conflict, pride wouldn't just ambush you and come out to play, but that's when it does. Because a lot of times, and this is going to be hard to hear, in some of our conflicts, we have a small amount of responsibility for bringing that conflict into light. You're like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, you might think that, and that's pride. You see, it creates cognitive dissonance when we think that there's something that we did that's wrong. That's why you never ever hear anyone being the villain in the story. I'm working on this project about being the villain and how no one who ever is the villain thinks they're the villain. Like unless it's like some sort of crazy, super dumb, like Dr. Evil from Austin Powers. That's a really old reference and not necessarily a Christian appropriate reference, but some of you that are my age will get that movie, like where his name is Dr. Evil and he literally is just trying to cause evil. Like he is the villain, he knows he's the villain, like that's who he is. Nobody thinks like that. Nobody thinks like that. There's nobody. Like Al Capone, when Al Capone was arrested and he was in jail, he didn't understand why people had such a bad reputation upon him, because all he did was want to serve people by giving them the opportunity to drink, to have parties, to be involved in things and freedom. Like he did not think he was the villain. Villains don't think they're the villains. So if villains don't think they're the villains, is there a chance that we maybe miss some of our responsibility in conflicts? Don't answer too quickly. The answer is yes, we miss it. So, Proverbs chapter 16, verse 18 says, pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before the fall. If you are willing to stop and own whatever part of the conflict is yours, I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably should have did this a little bit better. Or I probably should have talked to you a little bit earlier. Or I probably shouldn't have let it get to this point. Or I probably shouldn't have been talking to you about you to other members of our family. I probably should have spoken to my wife first before. Whatever it is, that little bit of acknowledgement eliminates pride. But as soon as you think you're completely right and that there was no way that you could have changed it, then that's pride. Pastor Mike is the king on this. When it comes to his humility, I told you before, I don't know of a more humble leader. I've never met them. When it comes to somebody that's done so much as he has and has accomplished what he has and has built what he has, I've never met a leader that is humble. His default is always that he did the wrong thing somewhere. Like he's usually like, okay, I know I messed this up, or okay, show me what I did wrong here. Like even when we're interacting and when we're leading, if we're doing something that's kind of complicated, he'll say, I know I'm misunderstanding this. Like, show me what I'm doing wrong. Like, there's a humility there. And that humility has led to 40-some years worth of his wisdom. Because he knows he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And in a conflict, the truth is, and that's an honor to him, but it's a dishonor to us, because what often happens is we assume we know all the things and that we're doing the right things all the time. Well, I don't make that assumption. Pride should not have a seat at your table of conflict. Pride is only going to exaggerate, it's going to prolong, it's going to aggravate that conflict and cause it to get even worse. So look at yourself in the situation and say, okay, what did I do wrong here? Was it my tone? Was it my actions? Was it the timing? What was it? Really examine that and allow pride to take a great exit out of that conflict.